Oh, Privyat Stalker. Are you ready to go into the zone and explore your wildest fantasies of Chernobyl? Are you ready to save your friends and try to find your wife as Igor and maybe play some VR games in the process? Yes? Well then Chernobylite is the game for you. I'm sorry for that cringy intro, and I'm sorry I'm not trying to be offensive. I just do a really good Russian accent, or at least I've been told I do. But again, I'm sorry if that was offensive. I'm not trying to be offensive. I just want to tell you about a game called Chernobylite, and it is a really awesome game. I've talked about it in the past, and honestly, this video is far too overdue. I've been really meaning to make it for the past while, but now it is here, Chernobylite. If you don't know what Chernobylite is, it is a game all about the Chernobyl disaster, and it has a wild twist on it, and you are Igor looking for your wife. You're a scientist who harnesses the power of Chernobylite, a crystal created after the explosion of the reactor in the Chernobyl disaster in 1986. And honestly, I don't want this intro to drone on. You know what the point of the game is, you know the title of the game. Let's just get right into this. So Chernobylite is a game that is on Steam. I don't know if it's on GOG or Epic, but I know it's on Steam, and it is made by a tiny development crew, and honestly, they did an amazing job at this game. This game is something special because they put so much work and effort into this game. I'll get into that after I explain what the game is. So, you are a scientist named Igor, and you experience the Chernobyl disaster. In the disaster, a chemical or a new element is created called Chernobylite, and if you look into this, apparently it's like a real thing. I don't know. And the developers made this game off of this real element that was created in the incident, but you harness its power to teleport and time travel. So your wife ends up going missing, and you are looking for her. So you use the Chernobylite to create a VR headset that lets you look into the past and figure out what happened to your wife. And you are in the zone, so you have to set up a base, and you end up helping a few people. You have to avoid the rangers and the soldiers in the zone, and the mutants. There are mutants, and you build up your base. There is a base building feature. You don't get to build like your base, you get to build everything in the base, and it's not very fleshed out, but for what there is, it's pretty cool, and they did a pretty good job. And then you do missions, and the missions are story missions, but it's all non-linear. You kind of do what you want when you want, and eventually you'll learn the story by picking up enough clues and stuff. And then once you pick up enough clues and find enough stuff, you can progress through the story. And the way they do the missions is also very interesting, and I'll get into that. But after searching for your wife, you meet a few people, and they help you out, and if you don't help them too, they will leave, and you have to ration the food out, and it becomes your base and your community, almost like State of Decay 2, but it's very different. That's just like the only game I can really compare it to. So circling back to the missions, the way the missions work is there's a list of things that need to be done on that day, and there's a main mission, which usually you would want to do, and every character, there's, you know, everyone in your base, you select a certain mission for them. And you don't have to select a mission, they can stay at the base, but you select a certain mission, whether they're going and collecting food, whether they're going and collecting ammo, whether they're going and checking out a disturbance or fighting someone, and they can come back successful, they can come back unsuccessful and hurt, or they can even die and get kidnapped out in the zone. So you really need to watch the percentage. It gives you a little percentage of how high of a chance it is for them to succeed. So you really need to pay attention to that if you don't want to lose your teammates. And on top of that, there are certain conversations, there are certain missions that you have to do, because if you do certain things they dislike, or maybe you don't feed them enough rations compared to the other people because it's all character based, you know, you give one person this amount of food, you give yourself this amount of food, and if you're unfair to someone, they will leave. With all of that, you work your way up to finding your wife, and that's the story. I don't want to spoil anything because the story is actually really good. It's one of the reasons that I love this game, and it makes this game so special. Now, I want to talk about what in the development makes this game so special. Now, I've talked about this game before and talked about how it is almost photorealistic. The graphics are so amazing. The graphics look so good, and everything there sounds amazing. It's just the environments are so great. And the reason is the development crew
went to Chernobyl to scan everything. They did environmental scans, they did sound scans, they did everything they could to make their game as true to Chernobyl as possible. They went there and learned things from people. They did interviews, and you can find all of this on Steam in the game's page. You can just look through it all. They have discussions. They show how they made stuff. They show who they talked to. They showed where certain parts in the game are in real life, and they just did such a good job making a special and oh my gosh, very real world to this game. I'm sorry for that, excuse me. You know, for them to go to Chernobyl and record all of the sounds of the birds and the wind and everything, and record themselves walking through glass and walking through the buildings, and import that into the game, and as in the game you are walking through Chernobyl and all of those places, that is the audio, the real audio of real life. That's just insane to me, and I don't know how better to explain it. They just did such a good job with that. And if you go to certain locations in the game, you will find beautifully detailed spots. And then if you look it up in real life, it is a real spot. And then you can photo match it. And they did, I can't stress enough how good of a job they did, and I'm just going to be here ranting. But on top of that, the development team is super small, and for them to, it might be easier for them to have done such a good job because you can't take a 60-person team out to Chernobyl. They could take their whole team out to Chernobyl, they could discuss, and honestly, this is why I think small development crews are doing better than big development teams nowadays. Nowadays, big games are tragic to see what is happening with the big games, and then you see an indie game like this that's, you know, $20-$30, and it is an absolute spectacle to play. So I mentioned how you could pick this game up on Steam. I don't know about the other PC game clients, but you can also get this game on PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. So that's pretty cool. Honestly, I thought this game was a PC exclusive until I was looking into it a little more, so it's pretty awesome that it's not. But the people who made the game, the development team, is called the Farm 51, and as I said, they went through Pripyat and Chernobyl, and they did all of the 3D maps and made this game exactly like the cities. And what's also awesome is this is one of those Kickstarter games where the Farm 51 went to Kickstarter and started crowdfunding for it, because, you know, 3D scans, they aren't cheap, especially making a game and doing 3D scans, so they wanted to get some money for it. And they were asking for a $100,000 goal, and they ended up raising over $206,000 from over 3,000 people. And finally, the game was put on early access in October of 2019, and then finally in July of 2021, it got its full release. And I bet money that those 3,000 people were not disappointed, and still are not disappointed, because this game is amazing, and honestly it feels almost like a spiritual successor to the S.T.A.L.K.E.R series before we heard anything about S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2. Sure, now we have S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 coming out soon, so people can just wait for that, but before we even heard news of S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2, you could be playing this in 2019. I don't know, maybe S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 was announced in 2019. To be honest, that game's been being pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. I thought it'd be here by now, but nevertheless, this game is so special. The fact that it has 3D scanned environments, it has real sounds from the places, the fact that it was a Kickstarter campaign that ended up being successful, it's just all out amazing. And to my knowledge, the game has great ratings, and I totally recommend it. If you have never heard of Chernobylite, if it looks amazing, I totally recommend you go check it out. As I said, it's not a PC exclusive. You can get it on Steam. You know what? Hold on real quick. Ah, you can, in fact, get Chernobylite on GOG. So get it on GOG, get it on Steam, get it on your PS4, get it on your PS5, get it on your Xbox, get it on your Dreamcast, you know, get it everywhere, and enjoy this game. I hope you enjoy this video. If you did, go check out my channel, and don't forget to like and subscribe to stay up to date on all the new content coming out. And as always, go check out BillyTheWhip.com or just Billy the Whip on any music platform for some new music that you probably never heard. And as always, don't forget to steer clear of the Black Stalker and have a great day.
tip. Things get dim when the boy gets grim. Play it like a game, but I don't see no squiz. Searching for the fame, but I don't get no hiss. That's okay, but imagine if I did. Life would be so different. It would be such a trip. Take a CC. I don't sit always doing flips on the